Hear ye, here comes the judge. It is the Yogi judge, Judge Dawson. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you from a judge's perspective. And if you haven't been listening to the podcast, I don't know if you know, but I am a municipal court judge. I handle all types of cases. I'm also a yogi, a yoga teacher. So I try to bring those two perspectives together in everything that I do from the bench. I don't take it for granted that you've given me the opportunity to speak to you today. And if you've listened to the podcast before, you know I don't keep you long. I just keep you long enough to give you some inspiration as well as some information. And hopefully it's something that you can use and or pass on to someone else. And if you do enjoy the podcast, press the subscribe button and go to my website, www.judgedawson.com, so that maybe you can sign up for that wonderful email I send out, Dose of Positivity, or connect with me in so many other ways. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about something that happened in my courtroom recently. I had a young man in front of me charged with attempted murder. Now, those charges always bother me because, come on. Life is too precious. Life is fragile. And I think the reason that so many people can find themselves in a position of attempted murder and things like that is because you lack the value of life. And that's a whole nother subject. I've talked about that. I've lectured about that. I've written about that. Too many people in our community, and I mean the broader community, don't have a true value for life. So they're willing to take your life over almost nothing. And if we don't get a hold of that, then it'll continue. And I don't believe that by my podcast, I'm going to change all the crime in the world or what I do in my courtroom, but I'm sure enough going to try to do it. But every ounce of my being, I'm going to try to make a difference. So here you go. This young man is in my courtroom charged with attempted murder. The case goes like this. The young man was in the presence of an acquaintance. I don't even want to call him a friend because you don't try to kill your friend, right? He was in the presence of an acquaintance, and at some point his cell phone was lost and or stolen. And he asked the guy, he said, "Look, have you seen my phone? I think you have my phone." And the young man said, "Hey, I don't have your phone. I don't have your phone." This guy, the defendant, pulled out a weapon and shot the young man in his foot. Said, "Look, I know you have my phone, and if you don't get my phone or tell me where it is in 10 minutes, I'm going to shoot you in the other foot." Lo and behold, 10 minutes passed. He asked for his phone. The guy still didn't have it. He shot him in the other foot. Now, at this point, it's getting ridiculous, right? They're in an apartment. Gunshots, gunfire going off. Nobody's calling the police. Not yet, at least. Eventually, this young man is pushed into a bathroom where he's sitting there bleeding. Now, after quite a while passed, he knocked on the door saying, "Look, you know what? I have medical issues. I'm going to bleed out. Get me out of here. Take me to the hospital. I don't have your phone." Somebody else opened the door. It was the owner of the apartment. And the guy that was inside bleeding inside this bathroom said, "Hey, man, can you let me out? Help me. I need some help." The owner of the apartment said, "Look, if I help you, that guy's going to kill me." And he closed the door. Meanwhile, the shooter is still hanging around the apartment, still can't find his phone. And at some point, he knocks at the door again. "Hey, let me out. I'm not doing well. I need to go to the hospital." The shooter wouldn't let him out. Then in desperation, the guy bleeding in the bathroom knocks on the door and finally says, "Look, I can't make it. Go ahead and finish me off. I'm going to bleed out anyway." So what does the shooter do? He opens up the door and shoots the man in the stomach. So now he shot him in one foot, the other foot, and the stomach. And at some point, the shooter realizes, "Hey, I better get this man out of here." So while they're trying to get him out of here, and then there's another woman who happened to be in the apartment. She's trying to clean up the blood with a mop. The shooter takes the man in a car. This sounds crazy, right? Drives him to a street where there are a few houses and kicks him out of the car, leaving him for dead. Kicks him out of the car. But luckily, the man wasn't dead. He was able to drag himself to a house and ask for someone to call the police. Now, he couldn't walk, remember, because he was shot in his two feet, right? He drug himself to a house, asked someone to call the police. He ended up in the hospital, and eventually he was able to ID the perpetrator. Now, if that's not a crazy circumstance and situation, I don't know what is. But my purpose as the Yogi judge is not just to leave you with some, juicy story about some of the things I see in my courtroom. Most importantly, I looked at that young man in his eyes and I told him, I said, look, you have to figure out how you want to live your life. I mean, obviously, we know you're here charged with attempted murder, so you're going to have to face some very serious consequences. But at the same time, you have a chance to turn it around. I mean, obviously, you're going to go to jail for a very long time, but you need to come to grips with whatever it is on the inside of you that causes so much anger, destruction, and so much despair. I mean, you're obviously in despair if you can have no value for someone else's life. See, my theory as a judge that no matter how much wrong you do or how bad your crime is, I'm going to send you to jail or send you off with some dignity. And not only that, with a little bit of hope that you can change. Now, I don't justify what that man did at all, but I had to let him know. You got to decide how you want the rest of your life to go. Are you going to burn up on the inside with anger? Are you going to burn up on the inside with so much rage that you hurt other people? Or are you going to find peace with something on the inside of you, even if you're sitting behind bars for the rest of your life, where you decide that you are not going to act in that way again? And ladies and gentlemen, the purpose and the moral of the story is that we all have that ability. Now, you may not be a murderer or anything like that, but we all have these times where we're not acting within our best selves, right? Maybe jealousy comes up. Maybe rage comes up. I don't know. But there's always the chance for self-analysis to see when and where and how we can make a change. So that's the podcast I want to leave you with today. We can make a change, even if you've done wrong. It's up to us to live our best lives. So thank you for tuning in to Here Comes the Judge with Judge Dawson. Again, check out my website. I have so many tools for us there, tools to improve your life. The website is wonderful. The email that I send out every week, Dose of Positivity, you can get it there also. www.judgedawson.com. And until I see you again, continue to be the best that you can be, and namaste.